girls get followed just because they're hot?
Did we meet last night? I was pretty drunk.
Would you be willing to do an
But
experiment?
I got bumped at a show for a guy that has more Twitter followers than me.
Are you fucking
I
kidding
swear to
me?
God. Some guy showed up from New York, and they're like, this guy's going on before you. He's got 30,000 followers.
Well, the Council of Comedians have gotten together.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Twitter. Welcome to the show. I am that Chris Gore. This is PodCRASH. This is the show where you get to hear me as a guest each week on a different podcast. You get to discover new shows. I get to talk about a variety of topics. This week, I'm crashing a show called ReHash with Matt O'Brien. And what is ReHash? ReHash is an entire podcast about Twitter accounts. Matt O'Brien interviews comedians about their Twitter accounts. We will get to that later. During the wraparounds, I have with me a special guest, Byron Merritt. And Byron, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Cool. Now, Byron has a very interesting history. I met Byron at WonderCon a couple years ago when WonderCon was actually, God, it was like maybe 3 years ago when it was in San Francisco. Yeah.
Long time ago.
And the thing that, we met, we talked, we're both obviously bonding on being nerds, but you have an amazing legacy in the industry.
Yeah, my great-grandfather is Frank Herbert, author of the novel Dune.
Oh, I know who Frank Herbert is. Long live the fighters! So I just thought that was cool, and you're like a lot of people in the industry, just kind of struggling to be a part of the at Worlds of Entertainment, so we've crossed paths like several times. Yeah. And I don't know, I just thought it'd be fun to have you on as a guest and talk before we get into this week's crash.
Yeah, that would be great.
And you can tell me everything about Dune.
All the ins and outs. There's some things.
Well, there's some things. Let's get into it. Let's get into it for a second. Like we were talking before, like the spice is drugs, right? Yeah. Spice is pretty much drugs.
Oh, yeah, completely. Spice is drugs. Water is oil. It all just comes together to actually what we deal with nowadays.
What's so funny, I didn't even think about the water being oil thing. That's interesting. So, like, it was very... the novel was written in the 60s. Mm-hmm. Did anyone do drugs in the 60s?
Everybody did drugs in the 60s. Yeah, I think so. Everybody's on drugs in the 60s. I don't know how much, Frank was on, but, it obviously helped him write the book. I'm not going to lie. He wasn't a drug addict, but, like every well-known artist, they've all had their, their moments in history of doing stuff like that. And I think that's what brought out the beauty of this story, actually. He could envision it differently with his mind being on whatever it was he was on,
Yeah, but I don't think that surprises anybody. No. Because just that fantastical world he created. Let's face it. Tatooine is Arrakis. George Lucas was very influenced by Dune.
Yeah.
And it was a book that I read. I probably read it like once a year. I read it in high school originally, and I read the first 4 books, and then I went back and read Dune again, and I just kept reading it like once a year. There's something about that first book that is amazing because it is the hero's journey.
Yeah, well, the regular Dune is, that's the one everybody looks at, and then you got the House of Harkonnen,
I like God Emperor of Dune. God Emperor of Dune is really weird.
God Emperor of Dune is a lot.
That one is freaky. That one is, I think, the most drug influence is that. It's just so bizarre. All these like hallucinations and going back into previous lives. Yeah. It's just crazy.
Well, how far I think they go? I think it was like 20,000 years or something.
It's nuts.
Or in the future, I believe it was, and it's incredible. It's everybody looks at Dune though, and they think that's all they look at when they think Frank though.
Right.
You got to think he's done much more that people don't notice.
You know what about Frank? Also, he has a beard. Mm-hmm. Very famously had a beard. And you know what? If you don't want to have a beard and you want to support this show, you can go to dollarshaveclub.com. I'm serious. This is a plug. This was the worst segue ever. From talking about Frank Herbert's beard to Dollar Shave Club. Look, I could use the support on this show. If you're someone, you're like Frank Herbert, maybe you have a beard, but you want to kind of trim the beard, you need razors. And razors are a pain in the ass, like nice, the really good razors. Dollar Shave Club makes it easy for you. Just go to dollarshaveclub.com/Chris. You'll be supporting me. You'll be supporting PodCRASH. And you will also be participating in one of the worst ways to get in a plug ever. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/Chris, support PodCRASH, and you could, even if you have a beard like Frank, you could, okay, that was awful. I will never do another plug like that again. But let's go. So back to our conversation, and don't forget dollarshaveclub.com/Chris. Back to our conversation, like, I know there were many incarnations of Dune. There was, of course, famously the David Lynch version, which I think is an admirable failure. I don't know, what were your thoughts on it? What's your family's thoughts about it?
We had the same thoughts, I'm not going to lie. We didn't think the movie was at all good enough for what he had written. I mean, just, the fact of...
Well, it was too much condensation. I remember reading a script that had much more, and the fact that they had to stop and explain terms. Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of characters in the book even have, like, multiple names. So it does get confusing. In the book, the good thing is there's the glossary, right? You can look at stuff. But in the movie, I felt like he was burdened with having to get all... It really should have been a miniseries.
It should have, because they couldn't explain enough. You're watching the movie, and you're focused on... You're trying to, who's this character? Who's this character? If you've never read the book, you have no idea what's going on in the movie whatsoever.
It's like a highlights of the book is all it is. It's but the one thing I will say is great about the David Lynch version is the production design.
Yeah.
Well, looks amazing.
Yeah, well, they put a lot of money and effort. It was a $40 million film, I believe it was. And back in that day, that was a lot of money.
And the Spice Navigators, I think the design of the Spice Navigators, well, let's be honest. We said, Spice Navigators' mouths are vaginas. Let's be honest. When it's the weirdest looking vagina you've ever seen is the Spice Navigator's mouth. I'm serious.
There's some weirder ones out there.
Yeah, and you get that right in the opening shots. What I love about like filmmakers like David Lynch that just completely will insert a perverse, weird idea into a
beautiful film.
A beautiful film like Dune. And then, of course, there were the incarnations that the Sci-Fi Channel did. What's your thoughts on those?
Children of Dune?
Yeah.
Those were actually like those ones a lot better. You have...
at least try to attack more of the story. Well, they also did Dune. Didn't they do Dune for Sci-Fi Channel? They did Dune, Children of Dune.
They did Dune, Children of Dune, and...
I thought they were it almost they focused on the melodrama, and the effects were kind of anemic. Yeah. And they were early digital effects, so they looked, it doesn't hold up. It didn't hold up when they made it.
No, it didn't make it too far. I think the actors-wise, they have some pretty amazing actors, and then they had, what's his name, from Wanted?
Yeah, there were some. It was a good cast.
It was a great cast, but the film on its own, the characters, the settings, and everything, they explain a lot more, I think, in that than they did Dune, the movie. You get a lot more feel of what's going on, but you're not as there's still a lot of things missing. You're 6 books, you can't.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a way. Like, I feel like. Someone like a Peter Jackson needs to come around and go the fact that he could make Lord of the Rings make you feel like you were transported to that world. I feel like Dune needs to have that sort of care needs to go into it. You know what I'm saying? So
sort of money also too.
Money's a part of it. Yeah. But you and we were talking when I first met you about still trying to get another version of Dune made. It was in development for a while at Paramount. What's the status?
Paramount dropped it. Paramount's no longer into it, and we're looking at another source. I can say exactly who it is. I want to, keep the rights.
You can tell me after the podcast.
I'll let you know. We'll get more in depth on that. But yeah, there's more sources looking at it. It's not a complete failure. There's gonna be more.
What I really love is reading about the Alejandro Jodorowsky version of Dune that was. He developed it in the early 70s, and H.R. Giger actually did production design. You can find this online. There's articles about this, and you can see some of the paintings and stuff that were done. But that vision of Dune was just incredible. Like I'd love to see someone take on that. And then he kind of in the story. His mother has a baby that ends up being an abomination because of her exposure to the spice, whatever. But there was this, I felt like there was, when I was reading the book, that I thought that it was going to be, they were going to have sex. The mom and the son were going to have sex. It's sort of like, it felt like it was leading to that, and he just decided not to do it, right?
Yeah, it's very intimate.
You got with this sort of, you're starting to feel awkward and weird, like the mom and the son, and she's like, it felt like maybe there's a version of it that happened, but Alejandro Jodorowsky, in his version of Dune he was going to make as a movie, he actually had them have sex.
Oh, okay.
That was the way he was going to change it. Did you know that even?
No, I didn't know that.
So Crazy, right?
Yeah, all right.
But I felt like the setup was all there for that to happen anyways. And that actually makes her even more of an abomination, so to speak. So.
He might have had that theory in his head and thought, I don't think that would work out too well for other people. And
well, for mainstream audiences, it would be weird. It also makes you feel strange about the lead characters. But whatever. I thought that Jodorowsky, just because he's from Santa Sangre to El Topo. That guy's a masterful filmmaker.
Yeah.
To see him do Dune would be amazing. Who do you want to see make Dune?
You know what? It's hard. It's hard to tell who. Pure Moral for a while was looking into it.
Right.
That wouldn't be too bad.
Maybe it needs to be more of an international thing.
I think
maybe
it would be.
Yeah, like an international cast.
The book's international. It's written in 20 different languages. So,
the book is intergalactic.
So.
It is.
Yeah. I think they were looking at Pure Moral for a while. I like him. I liked his. He's got some good movies, and I think he would fit well. They had meetings with him. And he seemed like he was really into wanting to put a lot of effort into it, but he was doing other projects, and he just couldn't fall into it.
Now, there's some other Dune news that you might be able to tell us, or no? Is there anything?
Well, for a while, we were looking at a comic book for a while.
See, that would be amazing. Don't call it a comic book. A graphic novel.
A graphic novel.
It sounds way more serious.
Yeah, especially geeks-wise. Love that. But, yeah, they were looking at a comic book, and... no one finished words on it yet, nothing yet. So we're still in the works on that, and from there we're waiting, waiting to see who's taking over.
Now let's switch over to what you're up to. You're seeking out, like everyone here, in
Hollywood.
In Hollywood, you got the job, you make money, but there's the dreams and aspirations. You have aspirations to you're getting into producing. You've obviously got some connections. You probably have better connections than I do. In this,
yeah. But I'm looking to producing. I'm looking into stand-up comedy too. I love jokes.
We should talk about that. But before we talk about that, if you're into producing, you probably have. What do you have? You have a mobile device.
Yeah.
You've got an iPhone. Maybe you got maybe you've got the Samsung Galaxy, whatever. But you know what's great about these devices? Apps. The great thing about having the iPhone apps, there is a PodCRASH app. Did you even know this? There's a PodCRASH app. You can go to the Android store, or you can get it also for iPad and iPhone. It's free. It links you to everything related to PodCRASH. So all the episodes are up there, archived. You've got pictures, all kinds of exclusive content. The app is absolutely free. It's a great way to just listen to PodCRASH on your mobile device. And you can get more information. Just go to podcrash.net or go to the Apple Store, look up PodCRASH, go to the Android. So I'm serious. You can get the PodCRASH app. So that's my plug. That's my plug for the PodCRASH app.
I got the podcast, so I got to look into the PodCRASH app.
Well, you get the PodCRASH app just gives you, it's a sort of deeper experience than just listening to it on iTunes, because there's photos and links to videos and all kinds of other cool stuff. Cool. Let's get back. Let's start tell me about your stand-up comedy, because I've been doing some stand-up. Doing stand-up for the last 3 years. I got a comedy album coming out. Cool. Which you can actually, I believe you can pre-order now. If you go to, you can get it on Amazon.com or iTunes. You can, or CDBaby.com. You can pre-order Celebrities Poop, which is I'm serious. It's my comedy album that'll be coming out right around Comic-Con in July. But you'll be able to I believe it's available now to pre-order and just reserve your copy of Celebrities Poop, which you can get the digital version, or there's a version of Celebrities Poop that comes with a book. Okay. That is a page-for-page parody of the book Everyone Poops. I'm not making this up.
Is it a picture novel? Or
picture? Yeah. Okay. I'll show it to you. But it's like it's a book and a comedy album, sort of a multimedia project. My first comedy album, and I hope you'll look that up. Celebrities Poop.
I'll definitely get into that. That'd be cool.
In
really
stores
cool.
in July. But this is after 3 years of me doing stand-up and rehearsing material. Even before that, stuff that stories and stuff that I would talk about just from before that, before I even got on stage and started doing it and actually calling myself a comedian. But this is something that you want to do. And so do you have a full bit? Do you have, what they say, you have to have 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is a good, I think that the guidelines are actually good. I mean, in terms of just it's something to shoot for and something to, or in my words, fail a lot, but so where are you at with the stand-up?
I'm, at the moment, I'm just looking for places to, do it. Just open mic nights, stuff like that.
Simple. Go to Google, Google Open Mic LA. Okay. You will find lists of stuff every night in LA. You'll be able to get up on stage and get some stage time. Now, one of the saddest things in the universe is open mics. Because you're basically surrounded by people on their devices, or they've got note cards and they're just looking at their notes and they're nervous, and then they get up and nobody laughs and no one pays attention, and it's all people just actually getting used to the idea of standing on a stage holding a microphone. Yeah. As simple as that. So
it's you got to break that barrier of being on stage for most people. That's where they all freeze. I know.
Yeah, you got to just like, to me it's just confidence and not giving a shit what other people think of you.
I'm all there.
Good. Well, I will come see your stand up. And then from there it's just like getting a gig and getting like, a 5-minute slot or something, or maybe like, a showcase where you get on stage and you're actually doing it now for a real audience.
Yeah.
Not for other comedians.
Not in the mirror either,
Not in the mirror. Yeah, exactly. But if you feel you got the material, that's awesome. Now, so I've got my comedy album coming out. You've got your comedy career starting. Let's talk about this week's crash. I was on a show called ReHash with Matt O'Brien, which we recorded this episode of his show at SF Sketchfest in San Francisco. It was right outside the lounge. They had this like lounge where all the comedians were hanging out. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. Like, God, it was so many people there. Like Andy Kindler. I did a stand-up show there at Cobb's Comedy Club. And Matt O'Brien is a Canadian comedian who is friggin' hilarious. I went and saw his show. His girlfriend also does stand-up. She was amazing. So what Matt does on his show, ReHash, is he talks to comedians about their Twitter accounts. Because I think if you're a comedian, you have to have a Twitter account. Because that's how you gain an audience. What's your Twitter, Byron?
It's Byron Merritt 12.
Byron Merritt 12. It's at BYRON MERRITT 12. The number 12. Yeah. See, I knew it because I follow you. But it's important to have a Twitter account. How you speak to Twitter followers? What are the things that you tweet about? What do you not tweet about? Why? How do you use your Twitter account? Like social media is. I really believe social media is. Good or bad is an important thing for anyone that's an entertainer. Yeah. It's definitely a power you need to use for good and not evil.
Well, you don't want to get on Twitter and start babbling on about, just start, for instance, the Boston Marathon bombing. Right. There's people out there who will criticize and make rude jokes about it, and stuff like that. And there was actually a comedian. I don't want to say his name, put anybody down or nothing, but after the Batman shooting that had happened, a comedian actually went on stage like a week later, I think it was, and said a joke about it. And it's a huge comedian. He got booed off stage actually, and it was it's just you don't want to put that on your list. You want to go out there and you want to put a good list. You want to make the jokes that people are gonna retweet. Someone's gonna come back up and they're gonna say it on Twitter like, hey, I made that joke up. That's hilarious.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. It was actually Dane Cook who made that joke. Whatever. But with that kind of thing, I like political and edgy humor. I do think that there's respect, especially when there's the deaths of people involved. It's just something. I personally can't make those kind of jokes. Yeah. That's a level of humor that just doesn't resonate with me, and I don't choose to do. I appreciate those comedians that can actually do that kind of really dark material. Not that I don't have my own dark material, but I tend to be, if I make a joke that's dark or cruel, it's usually at my own expense. Yeah. So if you like that kind of thing, Celebrities Poop available for pre-order where all stand-up comedy albums are sold. Okay, so Matt O'Brien, hilarious comic. What's funny is this was recorded in February while I was at SF Sketchfest, and there's a guy that drops in, this guy, Doug Loosenhop. He's also known as DJ Dog Pound on the podcast The Champs. Which is that's an edgy podcast for sure. Yeah. But Doug or DJ Dog Pound popped by while we were recording. He kind of joined the show, and Matt's also been on the Dad podcast. Matt was on. No, he wasn't. Matt appeared on the Dad podcast. Oh wait, yes, he did actually. He was in the wraparounds. What am I saying? Yeah, Matt was in the wraparounds of the Dad podcast. That makes sense. Yeah. Yes, I get confused sometimes. My show. We've got podcasts that I'm on as a guest. I'm having guests here in the wraparounds, like yourself. This is ReHash with Matt O'Brien. So what is that like being like a Canadian comic? Like, it's obviously a different scene in
it's
Toronto.
cold. That's what you want me to say, right?
Right.
You goddamn American.
Yes. but like I grew up in Detroit, like right outside of Canada. I would go to Toronto.
That's pretty much Canada. You're pretty much Canadian.
Really? I feel like I am bicultural from the standpoint of, like, I have so many Canadian friends that I would just travel to Canada all the time.
Yeah.
Plus, we bonded over, Canadian children's television.
Yeah, which
Hasn't changed.
A couple of guys talking about children's television.
Oh, yeah. Remember
men?
Mr. Dress Up? Man, that dude.
A big bearded man and a hip Steve Martin looking guy talking about children's TV.
I just remember the thing that freaked me out when I was a kid was that show, and I can't believe it was still on, Friendly Giant. Friendly Giant. The thing that freaked me out that I thought was cool, because I was always into giant monsters as a kid, like Godzilla, King Kong, like those are my heroes.
Things, yeah.
The giant monsters. That was sort of my, entry. I'm talking like when I was like single digit age little kid.
Yeah.
The thing about Friendly Giant that freaked me out was he'd just read stories is all it was. He'd just say read storybooks. But it was, he'd have this hand and he'd say pull up a chair, and you'd see a giant hand moving a tiny little chair. So they had this like tiny set of like a fireplace.
Yeah.
It was like all these little chairs, and a hand would come down like he was a giant, and he would like arrange the chairs, and it freaked me out as a kid. Like, there's a giant.
At any minute, you can just smash it.
And he's going to read stories to us. This is weird. And that opening, it was sort of only at the beginning and the end of the show, and that little, like, just those miniatures of a tiny little fireplace in a set, like, freaked me out as a kid. I bet it's not nearly...
Oh, the miniatures freaked you out?
Yeah, the miniatures.
The actual giant
The miniatures and the giant hand. Like, just that whole thing. Like,
that
looking
combination
at that,
was too much for your brain to handle.
Whoa, like, there's a giant that's reading storybooks to me. I must have been, like, 4.
You sounded like a stoner when you were a kid, too.
Yeah, I did.
Look at the size of this guy.
Yeah.
He's not even using his giant powers correctly. He's supposed to be smashing stuff. I agree with the whole, I love giant things. I love the game remember Rampage?
Oh, Rampage, yes.
You played any kind of giant monster, and because that's what you do. If you were a giant, you would smash the shit out of everything.
Primal Rage. Primal Rage was another good one. Or like, what was another one? War of the Monsters was for the PS. Was that PS2 or Xbox? I forget.
Yeah.
But then, it's so funny, giant monsters. That's how my mom got me to eat broccoli as a kid. And I'm sure.
Were you crushed by a monster?
No. The whole thing was like, you're a giant monster, and those are trees. And I'm like, I'm going to eat the trees.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still like broccoli because she pulled that trick on me.
Because it feels like you're eating a forest.
It feels like you're eating a forest. You're eating like giant. You're a giant eating trees.
Is she molding pieces of chicken?
I've heard other people, other people that are now adults that when they were kids were tricked by their parents into liking broccoli.
My dad used to tell me that if I didn't close my dresser drawers, monsters would come out of them.
Oh my God.
But that's a weird thing for a parent to obsess about. He's like, close your dresser drawers. It's sloppy looking. Monsters
How about like if you don't get A's in school, monsters will come out and kill you?
Monsters. I literally send a monster to kill you.
That's how parenting should work, is there should be more threats. I think threats work better.
Threatening's good. Yeah. Spanking on occasion. I think it's all right.
Yeah, but after north of a certain age, it's like, I remember my mom tried to spank me once. I think it was 11 or 12, and I remember laughing.
Did you?
And that just made her more mad. And I was just like,
I laughed at the wooden spoon. I got the wooden spoon a lot, and I would laugh at that.
Oh, the wooden spoon sucks.
Just because I grew up on a farm, and then my mom would chase me with a wooden spoon, and I would think, I'd be like, if somebody's watching this right now, it probably looks so stereotypical.
Oh my God.
Of what people would see on a farm. An old woman cooking and chasing a kid with a spoon.
You're like the Beverly Hillbillies without the Beverly parts.
Basically, yeah. Only in rural Canada. But are you that Chris Gore because there's another Chris Gore?
Which was the other Chris Gore?
I don't know. That's what makes... When I first saw that...
Did you Google Chris Gore then?
Yeah, but you came up. You're the only Chris Gore I know of.
Right.
But that Chris Gore, when I read that, it almost sounds like somebody saying in conversation, they're going, oh, not that Chris Gore, that Chris Gore.
Oh, that's...
Are you afraid of being compared? Is there another Chris Gore out there?
It actually, that's how it, when I originally, this actually back to the MySpace days, you could pick your name, like your sort of standalone, myspace.com/whatever your name was, and somebody already had Chris Gore, so I'm like...
Really?
And I'd been called, growing up in Detroit, I would describe myself as an irritant. I was definitely... I annoyed a lot of people with my sense of humor, and I love to play pranks and jokes on people. So, I guess that's sort of the early roots of my comedy were annoying people,
just bothering the shit.
And so I was known as that Chris Gore, and said in a very derisive way, oh, that Chris Gore. So then, when I couldn't get the name Chris Gore, I just said, well, I'll just be that Chris Gore, and then. there's other Chris Gores. There's a guy. There's actually another Chris Gore that does podcasts. That's a preacher. He does a religious podcast.
I did see that.
If you look up Chris Gore on iTunes, there's like me and then this preacher.
I saw that, but I thought that you were a guest on his because I know that your podcast is you're doing guests on.
I'm considering doing a spin-off podcast from my podcast, PodCRASH, where I interview people that are named Chris Gore only. You'd have to find a lot of them. There's a bunch. There's a Chris Gore professional fisherman, professional race car driver named Chris Gore. Oh. There's Chris Gore in Australia that is that covers finance on Australian television.
Yeah.
There's the Chris Gore preacher that we talked about. There's an I hate Chris Gore Facebook group, but it's not me.
It's not for you.
It's a guy. I joined the group, but it's a guy in college that I guess a bunch of his buddies hate him.
Yeah.
But if you look up Chris Gore, there's a bunch of them. I'm not on Twitter as Chris Gore. I'm that Chris.
You're
Gore.
that Chris Gore.
So I just sort of use that Chris Gore for everything now.
Yeah, I know. There's. I actually got booked in Canada for a gig because there's a writer for Conan O'Brien named Matt O'Brien.
Oh my God!
And they thought they were hiring him. I get to the gig and they're like, I can't believe we got a writer from Conan.
That's so funny because I once suggested, I wrote this book about film festivals years ago that a lot of indie filmmakers use and whatnot. And one of the suggestions I put in the book is find a person named Roger Ebert and just have them review your movie.
Yeah,
because you could do Roger Ebert of Covina, California says,
Iowa, Roger Ebert.
Yeah, I mean, like you've got to. Think about it. I'll bet there's a guy named Brad Pitt that you could have on your show.
Probably, yeah.
But it's Brad Pitt of Guelph, Ontario.
That in itself is a good podcast.
Yeah. Just interviewing people who have the names of famous.
There's got to be an Elvis Presley out there.
There's someone named Elvis. There's got to be a Hitler.
I met a Tom Cruise.
Okay, so I personally love fake celebrity Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie's leg, hilarious. Do you follow any fake celebrity?
I try not to. Just
Twitter accounts. We try not to.
Yeah,
they're hilarious.
They're hilarious. I mean, just some people take it overboard. Some people actually, I think they are the celebrities.
Well, I know that one comedian does this thing where he'll start a fake account for something, and then what he'll do is do it for a week, do a couple hundred tweets, and then stop. So he's tweeting nonstop, and then stop. I actually have I have a fake Twitter account. Well, I've got a lot of Twitter accounts actually, but the one that I'm most proud of is Hans Zarkov. I'm at Hans Zarkov, just at Hans Zarkov, and all he does is tweet when there are natural disasters and blame Ming the Merciless.
Oh my God!
I've been right all these years.
That is hilarious.
It's Ming. It's an attack. And then it says under the bio, it says former NASA scientist. So I think I might have talked about this on the podcast, but it's I love those fake Twitter accounts as long as I feel like you can't really maintain those. I think one of the longest running ones is Goddamn Batman. Goddamn Batman's one of the best. It's been going for a couple years. I know the guys who do it. I can't reveal their names. But one of the best fake ones. So I have quite a few. All right, well let's get back to ReHash.
I feel like Twitter is fixing. Especially if you're a comedian, I feel like that's good. It hones your ADD because
that is an ADD experience.
Yeah,
Twitter is sort of it sort of caters to that ADD thing in us, that sort of short attention span. Just give me the highlights. I don't need to know. You know what? Blizzard back east. That's enough.
Well, do you find it's actually because I use it for obviously writing jokes or whatever. So,
hey,
how's it going, man?
It's Doug from what's the podcast?
Mine's called The Champs.
The Champs.
Brennan and Moshe Kasher.
Oh, hey man, I'm Matt.
Hey Matt.
Did we meet last night? I was pretty drunk.
I don't know. Sorry to bust your podcast.
No, you are. You're crashing it in a way. Come on.
I crashed your crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now you'll get a mention on mine.
Yeah,
so that's all right.
Okay.
Doug is from this podcast called
The Champs.
It's called The Champs, and
which I've heard of. Yeah.
The premise of the show, Neil Brennan's on the show. If you know that guy, is comedian, stand-up, writer, and
Chappelle's Show.
He worked on Chappelle's Show. So the podcast it's a bunch of dudes, and Doug's on the show, and they interview a black person. That's first of all, don't blame me. I'm just telling you what the premise of the show is.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So and I just now heard of it, and now I have to listen to it.
I have heard of it.
What's this podcast is happening here?
This is ReHash. It's basically I interview comedians about their Twitter accounts. So okay. Which I was surprised that there's not a lot of people doing that. So.
Well,
Because Twitter's such a big part of like being a comedian.
Here's my card. I got these cards made. Let me.
Although it's weird, we should talk about this.
Got my stupid picture out.
Now that there's a trio,
I'm gonna
here,
Twitter this.
tweet this shit out.
My crashing of this podcast.
Yeah.
PodCRASH
And I'll
and
put it on.
ReHash. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
do I hashtag this thing with?
I don't know. Just use my name.
Matt O'Brien.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what's weird is when you look at comedians and you look at their Twitter accounts, right? Like I'm talking about most comedians. It's like the council of comedians have gotten together. We have all decided that comedians can only follow 200 people and that's it, maximum. That's
Yes.
it. Decision made. Because you see, like, most comics have, like, 8 or 10,000 followers. And most of them, when you see, like, who they follow, because I follow a lot of people that are comedians I like.
Yeah.
And then comedians that are friends, comedians I've just met, comedians that are big, comedians that are on the rise. I don't care, you know? I've met you, I follow you, I want to know what's going on. And so I follow, like, 900 plus people. But I look at almost every comedian, 200. It's like they all decided. They got together, and I always think that
we all think
everything's
we're
like
better than
a
everyone,
council.
you know?
We're getting together with the council, the council of comedians.
he's waiting for an out.
I would love to chime in on that.
Please chime in.
I
Why
think
do they do that?
I think.
Are they afraid that they're going to see other material and go, oh? Because I feel like that is actually a legitimate reason to not follow other comedians. Don't follow other comedians because they don't want to see material. Because I will try out material like oh, that's a good.
I don't think that's it. I think it just comes from it makes you look better if you're not following a lot of people. It makes you look like you're like
Too cool for school.
Oh yeah, you're like the cool
fuck
guy.
it,
Yeah.
I can't
You know what I'm
do
saying?
that.
So like I feel like I top mine off at 500.
If my life has taught me anything, I fail at cool.
You're not the cool guy.
Well, here's the thing. I think I can pretend to be cool
Yeah.
to a point, and then it's like once you get to know me, you're like, yeah, that guy's not that cool. He's
Yeah.
just he has a lot of nerdy things and can speak.
I also
the
hate that
nerd
another
speak.
podcast person is seeing what I use to podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Which are these big,
giant, stupid things.
giant vibrating eggs that look like they should go up someone's
Yeah.
ass.
I'm following 560. Is that good?
That's good.
560.
Is that
See,
good for
that's
you?
good. No, that's 560. You're not. But you're not the norm. Look at any
Yeah.
comic that is like you look at Pat Oswalt or Sarah Silverman or just
Yeah.
like people. Just sort of most of the comics that are. Well, I hate to say this. Most of the comics that are like working on a regular basis and then working in the industry like as in acting or like doing stuff. Like most of them are all like it's just 200.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
not saying that
there's
you're not
like-
working. It's
there's
just
not. It's not like
I'm saying
there's a
I'm
lot
not
of
working.
People worth following though.
That's true too.
that's
know?
true. It's a lot of noise.
There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of, I wish I could mute some of them because they're friends of mine.
You can do that. There's an app that you can like actually
that app.
go and you can mute one of the Twitter apps. I forget which one it is, but it's like it allows you to like you can follow them like oh yeah I'm following you and then you're like
And then never see anything that
and
you
then
do.
Do you ever follow a girl just because she's like a cute girl and you just want to get that follow back? Like,
yes I do that all. That's how do you think I approve Facebook friend requests? It's sort of like
Facebook doesn't count, though.
dude.
Like,
right, yeah.
I feel like
But
that's-
Twitter, and in fact, I did this thing once, an experiment, or I wanted to do this thing, an experiment with it. Like, I feel like girls get followed just because they're hot. And it's like I'll even like, and after a while, it's like fucking annoying. It's like, oh my god, I started following her because she's hot. Now I feel like I'm dating her. She's like, oh, fail, parking was bad. Oh, I lost my purse. Oh fuck. Oh, I'm waiting in a line. Fuck this. And I feel all
You're
they do is
basically listening to
complain.
her
Her complaining, and then
having sex with her.
what I'll eventually do to annoy them is I'll retweet what they're saying, and I'll just go hilarious. And it's sort of like
She thinks you're being serious, though.
and she thinks I'm being serious, but I'm basically just pointing out, yeah, you're a fucking idiot. You're not hilarious, and you're just complaining all the time.
Yeah. What's the way? What's the how to tastefully tell someone that they're being an idiot on Twitter?
I usually do it by way of a
Retweet it
joke.
and don't say any comment.
Well, I'll retweet it, and
Sometimes I'll favorite things. That's like, why would that be a favorite?
right. Yeah, no,
I favorite the insults all the time. Yeah.
Well, you know what I do is
Yeah, piece of shit.
anyone that tries to talk shit about me, I just retweet them.
Yeah.
And then any haters, but I really don't get any haters anymore. It's weird because I'll just sort of,
Bullshit.
I let other people. No, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying that like I just let other people.
Yeah.
I'll just retweet them and then they'll go like "fuck you." Gore's.
They get really mad when you retweet
Yeah.
them and they're trying to insult you. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually made a guy. Oh, this happened to me on Twitter. A guy suggested that I should have been fired from my job at G4. This is like maybe like 3 years ago.
Really?
It was a kid in college, and he was just like this whole thing of like they should fire Chris Gore from Attack of the Show. Fuck him, blah blah. And I was just like. I retweeted him, and everyone went after this kid, and it ruined his entire day. I mean, this guy was just like, fuck, and I made him apologize to me on a radio show. He called in, and I was going to listen to his apology. I said I would listen to your apology. I'll let you know if I accept it or not, and then I'll call off this war. So I just sort of let other people attack him. It actually ended up being. It was on. It's on one of the podcasts.
That's a classic move.
Yeah, just sort of to fuck with people.
Retweet the hater.
Retweet the hater. It's just, I feel like that just sort of disarms them. Or just what I do is, like, I'll address it. Like, if they actually have a legitimate point, like, fuck you, Gore, I really liked Fast and the Furious 5. And I'm like, I respect your opinion. I didn't like it because of blah, blah, blah. And then they go like, oh, you seem pretty cool, because I actually responded to them. They just want attention. But
sometimes I'll go searching for it if I'm bored.
Like searching?
Is
you do sort of ego surf?
I'll quote myself and then say, like, just to see, like, who's at a show.
Right.
And then sometimes I'll be like, oh, you like that bearded piece of shit. I hated that.
Oh, my God, really?
And then I'll purposely, like, favorite it or retweet it. And most of the time they'll go, oh, my God, I'm sorry.
They always do that. They pretty much always. I've never had anytime a hater, like, if you pay attention to them, I think it just shows they just want attention.
Yeah.
Like, if you pay attention to them on Twitter, then they notice it. But,
I like when people, like, think negative of me. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
I mean, you're doing something right.
Well,
I mean, you're doing something right.
The worst thing is to just be like, no one gives a shit. Like, that is the worst. I feel like. But I think Twitter's become so important, actually, in the marketing of, like, whether it be, like, you know, indie projects or even TV. I feel like casting now, people get cast because they have huge Twitter accounts, and I feel like it's sort of like, talent is certainly part of the casting process, but I feel like having a decent-sized social media following plays into casting decisions for programming, and I don't know that that's a good thing.
I've said this on my podcast before, but I got bumped at a show for a guy that has more Twitter followers than me.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I swear to God, I was booked on a show. Some guy showed up from New York, and they're like, this guy's going on before you. He's got 30,000 followers.
But I've heard of other people, the simple way to get verified, from my understanding, is you have someone else contact them on your behalf, saying,
my parents?
This is Karen from the BP Public Relations Agency in Toronto, Ontario. We would like to inquire about having comedian Matt O'Brien verified on Twitter. But basically, you have to have a legit reason for it. But
I thought you had to be handpicked by another verified person.
No,
like it was some weird.
It's not like the Masons or anything. It's not like the Masons. It's basically
it's like the Magic Castle where you have to have.
Yeah, you have to know. You just have to know somebody. Yeah, you have to know somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Love the Magic Castle in Los Angeles. Magic Castle's this. It's a restaurant where they do magic. Like
you can only go there if you know someone who's a member.
Right,
and they do kind of like Comedy Cellar too.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like.
Oh no! Wait, to even watch,
to even go there,
to even go there,
and have dinner.
You have to know. You have to get a card.
Holy shit!
It's a very strict dress code. You go in and they do close up magic work that is insane. Like, these guys are so good. Like you're right there. You're like, you could see my hands right here, and I'm doing card tricks, and you can't. It's unbelievable. Those guys are incredibly talented. It's great.
Yeah, sorry to digress on the Magic Castle bit, but
no, it's a great place, man. I love that place.
It's cool, yeah.
Yeah, but one thing I thought you could do this, because I saw you do your stand-up, and I saw do you talk about your girlfriend on your podcast?
Sure, yeah,
Julia?
Yeah,
Julia Schmacken. What's her last? I can't think. Schmacken, right?
Gladkowitz. I said it wrong. I've been dating her for 3 years.
Wow.
It's the H. She has an H at the beginning of her big, long Polish name.
What is it?
Why don't you get her last name changed? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, because I'm a man?
No, like a marriage.
Yeah, why don't you just get rid of that name?
Get rid of that name, man.
Yeah,
get rid of it.
Change that bitch's name.
Here's would you be willing to do an experiment? I almost did this with this girl and I were talking. This is a long time ago. Like, I think that people just follow. She had a bunch of followers. I'm like, how do you have so many followers? And it's just because her photo was so hot. And I'm like, let's do an experiment. Let's switch our photos. Like, we'll not switch our Twitter accounts. Our Twitter accounts will be the same. Tweet like normal. And what you do is, I'll use your picture. You use my picture. Let's go 2 weeks and let's see what kind of activity, like how our activity changes. And I was going to use a hashtag TwitSwitch just to see like what would occur. So I think this is what you do. You and Julia switch your Twitter photos, not your accounts or anything like else, or even like you could take over each other's accounts.
Yeah,
like she tweets from yours, you tweet as her, but you switch photos and see, are more people going to follow Matt O'Brien, super hot with the glasses, blonde.
Yeah.
Matt O'Brien over Julia with the beard.
Oh, that's like
Twin switch.
It's like a Cinderella story.
It is. It's
Or
like a.
people
Or, no, it's like a
personality.
No, it's like a shitty brain switching movie from the '80s.
It is. It's Freaky Friday.
I just read this article in Wired about this girl that like hacked like dating sites, sort of. She like basically was like crunching the numbers, like what does it take to find like the ultimate guy. So she like figured out what's the best picture. She kind of like you have to like fake your candid pictures, and she showed a little cleavage, and she used all these like keywords that have come up in the most successful profiles, and she incorporated them all, and then she found her like dream man, and they're married now.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
that has a happy ending. Fuck that story.
Well, that's like that movie Catfish. You remember that?
Right. Yeah, but that all turned out to be fake.
It was
Awesome. I ruined it. Spoiler.
Yeah,
Catfish. Sorry.
no,
Now you don't need to see it.
Kind of a
It's
shitty
all
movie.
fake.
It's
100% fake.
No. Catfish wasn't fake. What occurred? But I don't know if we should give it away. But Catfish is about this guy who he sort of falls in love with this girl via her Facebook profile, goes to meet her in Michigan, goes on this sort of whole search, and then finds out it's another. It's a
big
fake
fat woman.
It's sort of this fat married woman who's just bored. In fact, that's the thing that bugs me. On Facebook and Twitter is I'm constantly being flirted with by.
That's terrible. That's
No, wait.
Chicks always want to fuck me.
No. The thing is this, though. Being flirted with by married women. And I call them...
What's happening right now?
No. And let me finish, though. I call them MBNAs.
That's
they're
cool. There's no strings attached. Man.
Oh,
No. They're married...
People's strings.
Married but need attention. They're dudes aren't to pay attention to them. And literally, when I was single, I would I'd flirt back, and then I'd look, you're fucking married. What are you doing talking to me?
Yeah.
That's the worst thing is when you look at someone's status and it's why would I want to be
The way the internet
friends?
is, you could probably research that person enough to find her husband and then message them.
Julia, your girlfriend? Fuck her. I don't want to be her friend. I don't want to follow her. We're not going to be friends on Facebook. What's the point?
Yeah. Thanks.
I'm serious.
Shots fired.
Shots fired, everybody.
Why would I want to be...
I'm gonna go. Great crashing your podcast.
Yeah, Doug,
Nice to meet
thanks.
you guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for dropping in.
Twitter this right now. So.
Cool.
Tweet this.
for that.
Wait, where can we find you on
Verified,
Twitter?
guys.
Where can we find you on
Find me
Twitter?
on Twitter at DougPound. DougGGPound.
Nice.
That's a fucking great Twitter name too.
That's how I got the numbers. That's how I'm verified. You gotta have a great. You can't just be Matt O'Brien.
Yeah,
Shit.
Put a little spice on it.
Matt Pound.
that Matt O'Brien.
See you
All
guys.
right, see you
Later, Doug. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I'm not All right, we'll forget. No, Julia's cool. She's you're very lucky man. You're very lucky. I'm saying you're a lucky.
I know
man,
what you're saying. There's no point in talking to a person.
Why would I talk to her any further than hey, you did a great set. All right, gonna get a beer later, Julia.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's also in real life too. Why are you going to talk to somebody? That's like going to a bar.
Why talk to a girl you can't fuck is what we're saying.
Yeah, one of the weirdest things on Twitter and social media is interacting with women that may be attracted to me. I'm attracted to them. Have you ever gotten a date, Byron, or met a girl because of Twitter?
Not Twitter. No, I think it was MySpace actually.
Oh, really?
Back then,
Way back in the
That was
day.
back in the day. Twitter, Twitter's just too open. Everybody knows you would be going out on this date, and you get people who you haven't seen in a very long time who want to go out. They'll hit me up. Hey, let's go grab a drink or two. But
Well, I feel like social media is pretty good in the sense that you can. God, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
I have to stop doing that. I'm terrible at this, folks. You should be reprimanding me. But I feel like Twitter's a good sense of getting to know what someone likes, what they like, what they're like as a person. You kind of see where their level of humor is. You see kind of you connect on these levels because you like certain things, whether it be music, film, pop culture, books, whatever. You get a sense of who they are. It's almost basically if you look at someone's social media, Twitter feed, it's kind of like a first date.
Oh yeah.
In a way, it's a first date, and it's but then it's weird. I actually have met girls from Twitter, and because I feel like I don't I have been on dating sites before. Dating sites are the worst. Online dating, awful. I feel like social media is a better gauge to get to know someone.
Yeah. Well, you just go back a couple tweets, see what they've been tweeting, see how they party, and
and see who they follow.
Or you could
because
just
you could see who they follow. Like if they follow the same kind of people that you follow, then you're probably into the same things.
Well, yeah, you want, for instance, me and my girlfriend, we are completely opposite people though.
Oh, really?
Completely opposite.
It happens sometimes.
And it's funny, but together we make a great couple. But, like my friends I hang out with, they're on Twitter also, we crack jokes all day. We can, make stupid things up. And she'll look at it and just go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I would never think that'd be funny,
Yeah, well, sometimes guys do say stupid stuff. But I think that, like, Twitter... I think that, like, my Twitter is, I kind of use, like, I gauge, like, if someone likes a joke, if a bunch of people like a certain kind of thing I said, it's like, well, that could be material for my stand-up.
Yeah.
I favorite my own stuff just for that. I know that sounds awful.
Chris Gore has favorited Chris Gore.
Oh, God, it's terrible. I'm bad. All right, let's get back to ReHash. It's a lot,
Have you ever hooked
actually.
up with somebody because of Twitter?
Yes, I have, actually.
Are you serious?
I totally did.
I expected that question to go
It's
nowhere.
epic. It's epic. No, I was dating this girl. And we were supposed to go to a concert, right?
Yeah.
Like in downtown LA. And it was like, and she was gonna meet me Saturday afternoon. Like, oh, meet you up Saturday afternoon. We'll like hang out. We'll go like thrift store shopping or whatever. Then we'll go to this concert. I didn't hear from her.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. And then she contacts me and she says, hey, I feel so bad. The afternoon kind of slipped by. I saw my ex-boyfriend and, I see him every once in a while. He gives me money, whenever I need it. And then we ended up like spending the night together. I'm like, why all this detail? You could have just said, hey,
I can't make it.
I can't make it. But to tell me she fucked her ex-boyfriend and for money, I was mad. I was so angry. I'm like,
she admitted it was for money.
She admitted it was for money, and I was like, this is the worst, like... You're not only canceling, it's bad enough you're canceling, but you're telling me all this stuff. Like, I did not, that was like, I was dating that girl for a couple weeks, like, that was done. Like, the thing is this, I guess what the lesson in that is, girls, just lie. If it's early in the relationship and you're not, like, committed yet, you don't need to dispense that information to get that guilt off your chest.
That early into knowing somebody, you should talk like you're crossing the border. Very like short answers. Yeah. To the point.
Yeah.
Truthful.
Like a deposition.
Maybe.
Deposition. Just yes
like
or
you're
no.
Being grilled by the FBI.
Simple.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I was so distraught and kind of pissed off because I was really liking this girl that I was like, fuck it. I got tickets to this concert. Anyone out there interested in going? And a girl responded, and I'm like, all right, meet me at my apartment, like 6 o'clock. We'll have a few drinks.
Open invitation?
Yeah, open invitation.
That's crazy.
Some girl who, like, lived in Burbank, like, contacted me, came over to my place, and we had it was an epic night because I'm like, wow, my day started out this, like, horrible thing. But I was so pissed off, I'm, like, calling my a buddy of mine, like, this, like, how do I react in this situation? He's like, you have a right to be mad. Fuck that chick.
Yeah.
So, and so my night started. My day started like that. The night was met this girl. We totally clicked, and that evening just like was a hot and heavy makeout. It was definitely like second. Well, we didn't have sex, but it was like second date sort of stuff, like right out of the gate.
And did you stop
it was like
making out
awesome.
to point to this guy and go, "Thank you, Twitter."
No, the weird thing was, this has happened to me a few times in my life where I'm like, it's such an epic thing that I'm basically smiling while I'm making out with her. Like, I can't keep from smiling. Like, this is so great. Like, the way my day started, and now I'm just hot and heavy with this girl. So I'm smiling while I'm making out with her. But I feel like it'd be a cool thing if you guys did this hashtag twit switch.
Yeah.
You guys switch account where basically she is you, you are her.
Yeah.
So, like, you switch pictures, right?
I would totally consider doing that.
And then see how your Twitter following changes. Like what's interesting is I do look at trends. Like, I look at like, oh, I get this kind of boost, or what I'll do is I'll get a bump when I'm like when I go to Comic-Con or I go to some big event, I'll do a live tweeting.
Yeah.
So live tweet like E3, or I'll live tweet like I'm at Comic-Con. Like, I don't do that all the time, but then I will tweet and I will pre-write tweets, and I'll have hashtag like stuff in my drafts. So it's like, so I can do it fast, and I'll just tweet, because the whole thing is I feel like a whole group of people can't go to these things. Yeah. And it's like, well, I am your ambassador. I'm going to give you my perception of what this is like. You're seeing it through my eyes. Like, I'm having fun, and you're having the fun. I'm sharing the fun, and I get huge bumps from that whenever I do something like that.
Tweeting anything I find is, it's the funnest thing to do on Twitter.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
B, most people, it's the thing most people pay attention to. Live tweet, I hate award shows. I think the Grammys.
Yes.
People are going to live tweet the shit out of that. I might if I'm around to watch it.
Right.
I hated the Oscars, live tweeted the Oscars, and it was so fun.
Yeah, live tweeting the Oscars makes the Oscars more fun, because the Oscars is one of those. I love to hate the Oscars. Yeah. So live tweeting has actually saved watching that show.
Award shows. It's saved award shows.
Oh, it's so great. But I feel like
you should do that experiment, and then you should do a whole podcast about that. Would you do that just so I could listen to it?
I would.
Because I'm actually too lazy to do that. So would you do it? Also, your girlfriend's incredibly attractive.
Oh, thanks.
And you're both comedians, so I feel like it's actually a good. Like this girl was like a social media person.
Yeah.
Like if we switched brains, it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like
Two
for me,
entertainment.
but two entertainment,
Yeah.
and you're like a couple. I actually think that you would get some media attention out of that. Like you could write an article for Huffington Post or
You
something.
have such a
No, I always have.
wait. No,
I have a strategic mind.
You're strategic. You're experimenting with things because you also have like 20 accounts or something.
I have like 20. Well, do I have 20? I have never counted.
So many Twitter accounts.
Let's count.
I feel like your brain is just always like, oh no, let's look at that angle. What can I do with that?
Exactly.
And then you do it and then see what happens. Let's see what just
Here. So let me go to. Let me see because I'll tell you what the accounts are. I have that Chris Gore.
Yeah.
I have PodCRASH at PodCRASH Show. That's for my show,
sense. For your
PodCRASH.
podcast, yeah.
I have Fetishville. It's Fetish VIL. That's for an animated show I'm doing.
Okay.
I have one called At Last Guys. It's for another animated show I'm doing called The Last Guys on Earth. I have another one for a show. I'm not going to talk about that one. It's too early. I have This Chris Gore. I just
This
did
Chris
it.
Gore.
This Chris Gore. I actually did a thing. Oh, you can look this up actually on YouTube. I did a thing, and you can take clips from this and put them on your show if you want audio clips. I did a thing for what's this name? I forget the name of the company. Was it
Arm and Hammer?
Mahalo? I think I forget. It was like a Hawaiian name, and they paid me to basically give like it's like you're teaching Twitter to your mom. So it's like I say how to start a Twitter account. So I actually started a Twitter account on video, and I started This Chris Gore.
Just to
show people how to do it. So there's a whole series of videos of me explaining sort of aspects of Twitter, how to, like just how to do different things. Like what I like to do is I'll retweet, do a fake retweet like from Barack Obama. So it's I'll like, hey, like thanks Barack, and it's like RT at Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Join. I'd like all Americans to join me in congratulating Chris Gore on his podcast, PodCRASH, which I listen to every week. And I just do thanks, Obama. RT, and it's just it's a fake.
Did anybody believe it?
No. No. Actually, some people do. They're like, dude, Barack listens to your podcast.
I love how that's how they're just like, dude, nice.
I strategically do it like during the debates. So it's like I'm live tweeting the debates, and then I'll retweet something that Barack Obama supposedly said after the debates that is about me.
Romney just took
like
the dick out.
I'd like all Americans to thank at that Chris Gore and congratulate him for just like something stupid.
I used to do that with Justin Bieber because
really.
So like when he broke up with Selena Gomez, I was like I retweeted him, but in quotes, but like gonna go pound so much puss, bud, and a bunch of like Bieber fans were like, "What? Why are you saying this?"
I got in a war with Bieber fans once that ended up being like all these Bieber fans. I don't know what it was. Something I said on Twitter. I did some sort of tweet like, "I don't want to live in a world where it's like Justin Bieber has 1 million followers and so." I think it was some scientist
looking for it. The Bieber.
And they will troll for that stuff, and they attacked me. It was like, and they were all from England. It was weird. It was like most of them were from England. Okay, that's it for this week's Crash. I really want to thank Matt O'Brien for having me on his podcast, ReHash, which is a great podcast. If you like listening to comedians talk on podcasts, which is pretty much a lot of podcasts, you can hear them talk all about their Twitter accounts on ReHash. You can follow at ReHashCast on Twitter. And you can also follow Matt O'Brien at Matt_O'Brien. It's OBRIEN on Twitter. You can find ReHashCast on Facebook, and you can go to MattO'BrienComedy.com. Follow Matt O'Brien. Go to his website, MattO'Brien.com, and check out everything that he's about. Really fun to be on the show. Byron, thank you for joining me on the show.
It was fun. I appreciate it.
No, it was a blast. And so now this is to because obviously if you listen to my podcast, you listen to other ones. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you're inspired to get up there on stage and do this.
Definitely. I want to get out there. I want to, introduce myself to people. I want to get that name going. I think I can make a big impression on myself.
You've got the presence. You've got the presence. You've got the likability. Awesome hair. That always helps. I say, yeah, there you go. But you could get up. You could just do all Dune jokes. Mm-hmm. Could there be Dune jokes?
There could be a million.
I will kill him. Sting was great in that.
Oh man.
Yeah. I don't know. I love all that. I could sit there and quote Dune all day.
I get it all the time. I get it.
Oh my God.
It's fun though.
What is that? There's that movie Our Idiot Brother where Adam
I'm spacing on his name. He's also in Parks and Rec. I met him at SF Sketchfest, and I asked him about actually, because he quotes Dune in the movie. He's a character that's like obsessed with Dune and weird sci-fi stuff, and he quotes it, and I'm like, was that a improv? He's like, no, that was scripted.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible to know that the scripts are even, they're thinking
Oh,
about
Adam Scott. Adam Scott is the guy's name.
yeah.
Adam Scott in Our Idiot Brother does this thing where he's constantly quoting Dune. So I love that. I love that movie. The weird thing is like Dune's one of those movies like it didn't succeed, but it actually holds up in the sense that it was so freaking weird. Every other science fiction thing is just a ripoff of everything else, or ripoff of Star Wars. What movie's a ripoff of Dune?
I mean,
there's a lot of movies that rip off elements of Dune, but Dune is more of a land base. Like once they get to Arrakis, it's there.
Yeah, Dune's pretty much. I couldn't think of. Everybody obviously used Star Trek. He's used methods from Dune.
Right.
And, Dune-wise, I don't think there's very much that they could use that anybody's used, but there's other books that he has written where, other people have taken ideas.
Oh, like what are some of the other books?
Jesus Incident by Frank Herbert. It's not too well known, but it's known. And it's basically just like Avatar. It's almost exactly the same.
Really?
It's incredibly close.
Like you couldn't even make Avatar. You couldn't make it.
No, you would know.
Avatar.
I mean, Avatar's obviously, it's compared to, Pocahontas, all that stuff. The guy goes to the tribe, he becomes in love with the woman from the tribe, and, helps fight. The same exact thing here. They go to a distant planet called Pandora, and
are you kidding me?
And he goes to.
It's actually the planet's even called Pandora.
And he goes, and there's a colony named Avatars. And it's pretty much the same storyline, almost.
Was it actionable? That's weird, like from a legal standpoint. No,
you know what? We looked into it. It was looking, but.
James Cameron, you're disappointing me, James Cameron.
We're not trying to, ruin credibility of anybody else, but it's people take ideas. There's sometimes people will come up with an idea and it has already been used, so they still use that idea, but they put their own. Visual, isn't it?
In the comedy community, that's like a big thing. It's like joke stealing.
Oh yeah,
it's like such a huge, and it's like almost a sense of honor too. Like comedians that once they're outed as someone who does it, they're kind of ostracized from the comedy community.
Yeah.
But not so much in the movie and film and TV industry. That's pretty much that's a ripe place to just be ripping stuff off. But I feel like also some people get influenced and sort of have similar ideas. I think something's out there in the pop culture zeitgeist. I'm not talking about comedians so much, but like. That's why there'll be like a bunch of different types of movies of the same type made.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of like comedians wise. Carlos Mencia, he actually stole a joke one time from George Lopez. And,
yes. Well, that's been that was I think best documented on Mark Maron's podcast, WTF. He talks about that. But but in the film industry, I kind of feel like that's sort of, I mean, what are you going to do? You just,
people
move on.
Lawyer up, I mean, you can't do that though. You got to, look past it. If your idea is taken, and there's nothing you can do about it, just look at it and say, you know what, I made that, and
on to the next.
On to the next.
Take it as a compliment.
Exactly.
All right, I want to thank you for being on the show, Byron. Where can people find you?
On Twitter at Byron Merritt12. That's BYRON MERR 12.
Byron Merritt 12. Awesome.
Yeah.
And PodCRASH is part of the Sideshow Network. You can go to sideshownetwork.tv to look to find and discover more shows. Like Man School with Caleb Bacon. Like all kinds of great shows. Also, follow the show at PodCRASH Show. Follow me at that Chris Gore. There's a whole show about Twitter. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PodCRASH. And do me a favor, go to iTunes. Go to iTunes through your iTunes account, your girlfriend's iTunes account, your mom's iTunes account, your dad's iTunes account. I don't care. Give this show a review. Give PodCRASH a review. It helps boost our ranking on iTunes and more people discover the show.
Chris, let me tell you one last thing. What? Let's get out of here.
If you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You quote the movie Dune way too often, and you follow comedians on Twitter, and you tweet way too much.
And if you're that kind of person, then you and I are a lot alike, and I like you. And for that, you shall be rewarded. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California 90036. You'll receive free in the mail the PodCRASH Fan Club Kit. It's absolutely free. And if you keep listening to the show, you'll find out how to get verified on Twitter in this bonus clip from ReHash. Later.
Twitter, like I'm always like I'm going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, like a slow crawl and build, you know. But
well, you're a verified account too.
Right. But that happened early on.
You're verified?
I got verified.
What happened? How did it happen?
I don't know why.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened with me is just like I had a guy who just took a picture of me, was tweeting as me, and just saying horribly racist shit. And
Oh, really?
I complained to Twitter about it, and they said if this is an issue, we can verify you.